JJ and Eric, their LDL's high. Their doctors are worried, they're both gonna die. Probably won't matter, at least they hope so. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. Salad is toxic, seed oils are doom. They rub on tallow like greasy perfume. Ribeyes and eggs, that's all they know. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. No carbs, no kale, they're laughing at greens. 18-hour fasting is their favorite routine. Sugars for suckers, they're glowing with fat. Live streaming live from a tallow vat. Eric's got muscles, JJ's got zen. They're coming to chat with their carnivore friends. So toss out the lettuce, let the fat flow. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show.
Could do this. Maybe this is working. Maybe it's working now. There's no way to tell. We're working on it.
Are you still talking? I'm still talking.
Maybe it's working. Oh, they hear us.
All right.
I feel like we should start over.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sticking with us.
I've got to edit all that out.
Oh,
so
my
on the
goodness.
replay, nobody wants to watch that.
No. So I was saying my whole family's into music. My birth family was into music big time. And I was not as much into music, although I do dance. I was into TV. And so the fact that we now have a theme song just makes me thrilled. And you wrote that this afternoon with the help of
an AI. I did not sing it. I managed the lyrics. I wrote some of the lyrics. I chose the title.
Yes.
Okay. In the chat, do you want us to play that again?
Oh.
Because we could play it again.
And then start over again.
And then start over. And take a clean shot at this show.
Oh my goodness.
So it's the rough start and a weird day.
It's been a weird day.
I think everybody's abandoned us. I don't think we have any viewers left.
We have no view. We have one. whoever
Yeah.
you are. Is
Thank
it
you
you,
for
Remington?
thank you for staying with us
Yes.
for 1 second.
All right. I'm going to say, oh, wait, here, we just got a bunch more people back.
Well, we should keep talking so they don't leave because they're going to be like, why they stop talking?
Leave.
So let's just get on with the show.
Let's get on with the show. Okay. So a warm welcome to you all. Thanks for sticking with us through those technical difficulties. We have a theme song. We're happy. And as you said, let's get on with it. So
Who are you? Who are you?
Oh, I'm JJ.
I'm Eric.
I'm a life coach.
I'm a novelist.
We've been eating mostly meat since October 2022. And I took my Maria Emmerich Keto Adapted Carnivore and Keto Coach Certification quiz this week, and I passed.
That's a mouthful.
Now, I'm not certified yet because I have to now go back and complete all the material. Because I wondered, I've been, in this realm so long, I wondered if I could just pass the test, which I did. So I'm not quite certified yet, but that might be up and coming here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that means, but I will be a certified keto carnivore coach.
So I just saw today Nick Norwitz on X posted a new thing about there's been a study on aspartame and its
Genic?
atherosclerosis. Yeah, atherosclerosis.
Sclerotic.
Can't talk. Anyway, what it said was,
If you're here today,
it seems like what happens is the sweetness, as I understood it, the sweetness of aspartame triggers through the vagus nerve an insulin release that is inflammatory. And that sounds to me like a cephalic phase insulin release. So that's kind of interesting. I don't drink aspartame, very often because I don't drink sweetened sodas. Although I had one today.
Oh.
I don't know if it's had aspartame in it or not, but I'm doing so well right now. It's perfect time to sabotage my progress. Clearly my brain on aspartame does not function.
So we've got an N of one of that.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe we should just end the show. After 7 minutes and 45 seconds and 1/2 of a minute of content. So, but I've been losing weight, JJ.
Yes, and you don't really have much weight to lose.
Well, it wasn't a particular goal.
No.
But I had moved to this higher fat carnivore, and I was really targeting the 80% of my calories from fat to just see what would happen, especially with some blood labs. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't maintain 80-20. It was just too much fat. And because I tracked it for the past week, I tracked all of my food, all my macros, and I was getting closer to 75-25, 70-30. That was what I could
so
kind
you
of stomach.
literally couldn't get it. I'm like, why couldn't you get it?
It was too hard to eat that much fat. And that was at a eucaloric intake of roughly maintenance. Now here on this channel, we don't really care about calories so much.
Yeah.
But I was tracking that along with some other things and as an experiment. But what happened since I started that back in July,
No.
my brain doesn't work. When did I start it?
January 11th.
That's right. Begins with a J. And I was about 173, 174 pounds. And very slowly since then, my weight came down and down and down and down till I was 169.2 at my minimum.
I don't remember you in our relationship ever saying you were in the 160s.
I don't think I ever did that.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I don't think I'm going to stick around in this weight area, but hopefully when I gain some weight back, it'll be muscle because I'm going to be working out a little harder and supporting that with protein intake. But it was just really fascinating. I was eating a lot of food and as evidenced by my food logs, I was easily hitting 2,500 calories per day, not necessarily doing a lot of exertion because it was really, really cold. And it was just inching down. It was quite interesting.
So it was not calorie. I mean, again, like it wasn't a caloric
and
thing.
my goal was to try to get my ketones higher. I wanted to get the therapeutic ketones going for the brain. And after January, I had done that. I'd successfully kind of keep getting my ketones to be consistently 1.5, sometimes 2, sometimes over 2 in the morning. But not long enough to really know if I got a big benefit from it. Because then I had a blood draw, which was traumatic, and then I ate off plan that day because I was baby. And but what's interesting is I have data for ketones and blood sugar along there, and it's very clear I was doing great blood draw with off plan, and then everything shifted down. Now I went back immediately to my exact same eating plan. Was probably close to 70-30, 75-25, and the ketones did not come back and the blood sugar stayed a little bit higher.
Very weird.
And so, but that was really instructive to me because I was like, okay, now why is it that my body didn't go back to its old way of metabolism? And what I realized was obviously my liver thinks that I need to produce more glycogen or glucose. And if it's producing more glucose, well, then I don't need the ketones, even though my blood is replete with fats because I have very high triglycerides, even though I've been doing this for so long. And it could be turning all those fats into ketones for me if it chose to. But what I realized after thinking about everything I knew about it and then doing some reading and some research was, it's always the same thing. It's the same as when I had to get into ketosis 15 years ago, is that I could stop eating carbs and eat all the fat and the protein, and it would be a struggle until I did one hard workout.
Yep.
And then everything would shift. And that's because the glycogen, the glucose, would be depleted by the workout, and the liver would go, this is emergency, and I can't create glucose fast enough to answer the need. I better kick into ketosis at a higher level. And once it does that, it's like inertia. It wants to stay there.
So did you do a hard workout?
I did a moderately hard workout because I was mildly detrained.
Right.
And I didn't want to kill myself.
No, I don't want you to.
But the trick is I did it after a 15-hour fast. And it would have been longer if we had dinner at a reasonable hour the night before. And I honestly don't remember if that was your fault or not. But
I don't think that night was.
So I had fasted that long, and then I biked for 15 minutes to kind of warm up, and then I did a 45 minute resistance workout with a lot of like lower body muscles and getting my heart rate way up there. So that created the conditions where now I have definitely switched into better ketosis. I could have eaten the same way and it wasn't going to kick me up that next level. Now, alternatively, I could have done a long fast and maybe eventually that would have worked.
But you're not a big faster.
Not really.
No.
And so, besides, I can't eat very much volume in one sitting, even if I'm quite hungry. And so I would just continue to be under eating at that point, and I don't want to do that. So anyway, that was just a fun insight, and it was hands-on learning, so I will remember it.
Now you have been tracking like a maniac.
Yeah.
I mean, you've tracked a lot, many, many times a day, tracking blood ketones.
Yep. And every morning, using a cardio check was checking trigs and the lipids, the lipid panel. Now, it's not as accurate as like going to Quest or LabCorp, but it's good enough for trends. It's what Dave Feldman uses for a lot of his N of 1 experiments. I got that a couple of years ago because I was obsessed with trying to get not my LDL, but my trigs and HDL in line. And still to this day, terrible.
But so, yeah, you've been a tracking machine. Now, I, on the other hand, when you had your traumatic blood draw and you went off plan, like off plan. That day. Off plan. I went a little off plan with you. Not off plan,
No.
but just a little, we went to the restaurant. I had something, I don't know.
Salad.
Yeah. And usually I have resilience with that type of thing. And it's been a long time since I've done a salad, etc. But usually I have some resilience with that. So like you were talking about, I'll notice it for a day or two, and then I'm back to my normal sort of numbers. And this time it just was not happening.
Yeah.
I was not getting back into my normal numbers. And then we went to Vegas. But anyway, point being, I decided to stop tracking for a while at that point because I was just getting frustrated with it. And so then we went to Vegas. Then we came back from Vegas, and I was sick last week. So basically, I've been tracking free. I'm in a phase of not tracking, which is kind of what I do. I'll get into tracking for a little while, and then I'm like, I'm done for now.
Let us know. Are you a tracker? Do you track your ketones and blood sugar? Do you
Or
wear a
anything else.
CGM? Do you do lots of labs frequently? Or are you more of the Dr. Kiltz mindset of don't even look? Don't even look at it.
Yeah. So more recently, I've been Dr. Kiltz. It won't last. At some point, I'll get interested again, but I can't be bothered right now. My interest is very low in tracking, and that'll shift at some point.
Well, my interest is very high in tracking, but my fingers are so punctured that today I had to take it easy. I've only done one ketone blood sugar test this morning when I got up, and but my ketones were 1.5, so making progress.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I have mentioned, he just gave me the finger of where we're going
This
next.
finger.
Yeah, not a bad finger. So, as I mentioned, I did pass the test for the Keto Carnivore Coach certification through Maria Emmerich, but that has gotten me back into some of her content, and she does look at things a little differently. So, Donna, if you listen to this, I want you to plug your ears. Okay, just don't worry about anything I'm talking about right now. No, I say that because Donna's very often curious about fat. And Maria Emmerich takes a little bit of a different approach in that she and her husband, Craig, say prioritize protein. They have your protein minimum for the day. And it's based on your goals and where you are, how old you are, etc. They have a macro tracker. So you want to make sure you hit your protein or exceed it every day. That is like your main focus. Of course, you're not eating many carbs at all. At 20, below 30, wherever you are in your journey. And then they use fat as a lever. So they think that if you consume too much fat, your body will not burn its own fat. So the dietary fat trumps the body fat. Now, it's interesting because what you've just seen has not been that case. You've been upping your dietary fat and you have lost body fat. So I'm not negating what the Emmerichs say. I think we're all bio-individual. And so it's different for everyone. But what their premise is based on is that diabetics type 1 diabetics who don't produce insulin, their pancreases do not produce insulin, when they increase their fat intake, they have to increase their insulin intake. So again, not as high as carbs by any means, but it's an increased insulin. So here's where it gets interesting for me. One of the measures that I've been interested in of my own is that my blood sugar is at a higher rate being carnivore, or a higher measure being carnivore, the average glucose. I don't get spikes, but it runs at an average higher. And they maintain, the Emmerichs, that having that higher basal blood sugar is actually more dangerous than having the, again, not carb spikes, but sort of normal meal spikes. Because when they look at type 1 diabetics, they're having to inject more insulin throughout the day for a higher basal blood sugar, blood glucose, than they do when they've got the sort of the meal. Is that prandial?
Postprandial spike.
Postprandial spike. That there's less insulin involved there. So is it detrimental to those of us who have a little bit of a higher insulin? Is that really detrimental or not? So I don't know. Again, just putting that out there. And again, I think there's bioindividuality involved. I'm around my goal weight. So the Emmerichs actually recommend when someone is trying to lose weight that they do 1 to 3 pure protein days or protein sparing modified fast days, which means on those days you're eating lower calories, usually around 700 to 800 calories, very low fat, and you're still hitting your protein goal. So there's no carbs, no fat, lots of protein, and it's a little lower in calories. And they suggest that so that your body can tap into its fat stores rather than using the dietary fat that as fuel. So again, I'm near my goal weight, so they don't recommend a lot of that at all for someone who's near goal weight, but I might experiment with that a little. I haven't committed yet in my brain, but I might experiment with doing just one of those days a week and just seeing if my blood sugars do come down a little bit. I've been doing the Dr. Boz method for a while with the fairly regular fasting. I've seen the needle move a little bit, I think, where I'm like, I think my average is now like more of a 95 instead of a 98. But it requires the fasting regularly, which I don't mind, but I just thought I'd try it, because if I start to see changes, that might indicate that I've hit my personal fat threshold, that I do need to pull back on the fat just a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, there's a different theory that I've heard. It was Dr. Bob Siva's, the carb addiction doc.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And he thinks it's the higher elevating blood sugars is insulin suppression. But I don't know how well supported that is. I don't have any way to evaluate that, whether that's a thing or not.
Yeah.
But it's all experiments. So if you like to do experiments, I like to do them. I think they're fun.
Yeah, that's what I like to do, some experimentation as well. As I said, I'm not in it right now. I'm not into tracking mode, so I'm not really into that much of an experimentation mode too. But I'm experiencing the best health I have experienced probably in my, seriously, probably in my life. I was the kid who had my tonsils out at age 4. So I'm experiencing fantastic health, and these are just little levers to pull, a little fun to have, a little experimentation. I am 100% carnivore for life. I feel like no matter what, I feel great. It's doing wonders for me. I'm a happy camper. So none of these experiments are because it's not working.
Well, it's so typical for carnivores to be happy campers.
Yes.
And my mood's been pretty good recently.
It really has.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm not zen like you are, but
no, it's been pretty good. And I still don't think I'm expecting it sometimes.
Oh, for my mood. Actually, it seems like sometimes you can barely tolerate my good mood. Especially when you're working and I'm trying to not bother you. But I was watching Carrie's video about the Florida meetup.
Yes, I brought it up a little bit last week.
That
yes.
Dr. Kiltz, I guess, hosted at least a dinner there.
Yep, this was in Florida.
And talk about happy people. And it was an incredible video.
Yeah, it
and
was.
I was like, why weren't we there? People got cutting boards and knives.
I know. We picked the wrong event. Here
Yeah.
we were in Las Vegas at COSI. We should have been at Dr. Kiltz's getting all the swag. And jumping in the pool and whatever else they were doing.
Well, he had a bunch of Wagyu ribeyes.
Wagyu ribeyes.
That they
Beautiful.
grilled up. I was like, I'm not a big ribeye fan, but that actually sounds pretty good. There's a lot of fat on those steaks.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And I happened to catch one of his lives last week.
Oh, yeah?
I've never caught him. I know he does them a lot of the time at like 4 a.m. Central. But this one happened, I think it was on Sunday evening or something. It was a different time. And yeah, so but you know, he was Dr. Kiltz. So he was pretty much he was answering questions, but it was get your mindset right. Be happy. Don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. That's Dr. Kiltz.
Basically it. Yeah.
It was, it was nice.
So, Remington Steele, my heart, thank you for coming and staying with us through the silence. And she wants to congratulate you on the Keto Carnivore passing the test. Now you need to do the work. Lisa has arrived. She was in her driveway.
Hey, Lisa, we saw you. We saw you.
Yeah, we did.
Talking about your incredible cat.
That's right. On Dr. Barry's live.
Lisa is feeding her cat a feral cat, a carnivore diet, and its whole being is changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you were a cat and you were getting free cut up little steak schnibs, you'd probably be pretty friendly as well to that source.
So that makes me think of our dog, Arrow, who is getting pretty used to licking my ribeye plate at night, or my steak plate, getting whatever you didn't eat, getting a few little pieces of scrap, right? And we have not been eating together much lately because, I got sick.
Yeah.
And then you were doing your experiments, and I have had a little shift in eating lately since being sick. So why don't we roll into what we're eating right now?
I think we should. But
Okay.
let's just acknowledge that Remington says Dr. Kilt's meetup in Tampa looked like it would have been a great time. Wish I'd been able to
Yeah, it
go.
did look amazing.
If they do that again, I'm going to try to be there.
Yes.
I don't need the free stuff, but it did look like fun. So yeah, what are we eating? You start.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So got the stomach bug last week. The stomach bug portion passed pretty quickly, but my appetite still isn't quite up to its normal speed. Yesterday was almost a normal day, and I did not want steak until, let's see, what is today? Friday? Wednesday, I had a couple bites of your steak, and that was plenty. And then yesterday was the first steak I ate. So what have I been eating? I've been doing my fake Courtney Luna Cobb salad, which is no greens in it. It's basically bacon takes the place of lettuce. So it's chicken breast, bacon, blue cheese, an egg, hard-boiled egg. I've been eating that. And just ground beef. Ground beef with a little bit of Redmond's taco seasoning in it and a little bit of sour cream. And that is, and egg life wraps with butter. And that's pretty much what I've eaten the past week plus. And so, yeah, I'm still not quite, things have just shifted. And it's not that I feel sick or anything. I just am not craving or wanting a lot of fat. I think it's fat.
Yeah,
honestly.
probably.
I'm not wanting a lot of fat right now. So the body is operating in a slightly different mode.
Well, during my experiment of testing these lipids every morning, I was really trying to keep my calories and my macros the same because I was doing an experiment. So I was having steak and eggs for breakfast. Right now, I do have 3 meals in my eating window. I have 2 tins of sardines. I extract them from the tin. I used to just eat them straight out of the tin. And I put maybe 8 or 9 grams of MCT oil on them.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Not
I
an
know.
animal product.
That's a plant product.
Oh, no.
But I know it's grams because I put the whole bowl on the scale and pour in liquid MCTs. And then I put a little squirt of stone ground mustard in there, some salt. I mix it all up and I love it. It is so scrumptious. If you don't like sardines, I feel bad for you because they're great. They're a superfood. And I have those. And then dinner's usually a steak, maybe with some egg yolks just to fatten it up.
So, yeah, he told me what I was making was not fatty enough for you, for your macros at that time.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I have, I am reducing down to probably closer to 60-40 going forward, and see what happens with that. But I'm using the MCTs also to support ketone production. That's the only reason I'm including them. It's because they just basically immediately become ketones.
Yeah,
in my
I've
blood.
not been using MCTs lately because, again, I'm not there right now. But I, too, have used MCT supplementation because, as you know, my primary goal at this point is mood and energy. And so to keep that nice ketosis going.
Keep that carnivore zen. Now,
Yeah.
I have a whole theory that I've developed because I feel like I talk about my triglycerides too much on this channel, but I'm a weirdo. I'm an outlier. I am very compliant and my trigs are high. Even last fall, they were down to 115, but
I was just going to say now in January.
this last time they were like 300 or something.
In January, you were showing us that it was trending down slowly.
Right. It had been trending down. I did this blood lab. It was 350 maybe, ridiculously high.
Yeah.
So but my insulin, like undetectable. So it just is listed as less than 3 in the particular test that I did. My insulin resistance score from Quest was an 8. It's considered low at 33. And my C-peptide was like 1 point something or other. Very, very low. All of that suggests extremely good insulin sensitivity. And that means very, very, very like no carbs. So usually it's the excess carbs that the liver turns into triglycerides. So there's got to be a new operating theory for why my liver is dumb. And I've got many of them. I'm not going to go into all of them. I have some pet theories. Obviously, there could be some sort of familial hypertriglyceridemia, but I have reason to believe that's not the case. But anyway, I was having one of these high-fat meals last week, and all of a sudden, I sat down like 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, sharp gallbladder pain. Now, I've had gallbladder pain way, way back in the far distant past. No gallstones that I'm aware of. That was more just a kind of a constant ache. But this one was sharp, and it was like stabby, 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 stabby. And I was going, what's going on?
He really does do that. This is not a dramatization.
I was like,
that is what he does.
is like from Aliens. Is an alien thing going to pop out of me? But it didn't. And then it quickly resolved. And I was like, that was my gallbladder. And I was like, So I started doing my research, and I was like, can insufficient bile result, because bile emulsifies fat so that it can be absorbed. And actually the pancreas also adds some enzymes to that process to encapsulate it. Then it's absorbed and then it goes into the body. And I was like, what happens if your bile is weak and insufficient and lazy? Well, then you can get several digestive issues, but one of them is the bile itself is part of a signaling process to the liver to tell it to make triglycerides through this FXR process. Boy, am I out way over my skis on what I actually know. But any bile insufficiency can result in elevated triglycerides. Now, I do take a digestive enzyme. I have for years. There's some ox bile in it, but I was like, there's some, but I've been slamming giant goblets of fat, with all my meals. So this would be an explanation for why this high fat period followed by a blood lab would result in spiking triglycerides. So I was like, well, I'm going to supplement more ox bile. So I am doing that now as an experiment, and I will report back once I have any information at all. But so I immediately searched YouTube. I'm like, bile triglycerides. You know who came up? It wasn't Dr. Berry.
No.
It wasn't Dr. Chafee or Dr. Baker or Dr. Hampton or Dr. Wiedemann or Dr. Boz it wasn't Dr. Westman. It was Dr. Berg. He's the one who taught me a little bit of details about that. So That's that story.
Well, speaking of doctors,
Yeah.
I saw a couple Dr. Hampton videos today. And I haven't we met Dr. Hampton at the Chicago meetup in January. I haven't watched a ton of his videos recently. I saw him quite a bit when he was pretty new to YouTube, and saw him at the meetup, loved him. Didn't really think about him like as far as YouTube goes, but then there he was on our feed today.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the first video, which I loved and cannot even remember what the content was. But the second video is the one that we've all been waiting for. Dr. Hampton talks about why carnivores don't have body odor and bad breath.
And what was the reason?
Well, the biggest reason is that the odor is caused by bacteria, and we have less bacteria on us.
That's it?
That's mostly it. I mean, watch his video. It's really good. But yeah, he's gotten really good at these little 10, 15-minute videos. They're really, really neat. And he goes into more detail, obviously, about sort of, the skin biome, the microbiome, the mouth biome. I don't even think he uses the word biome, but I am. But he goes into more details about it and gives a few reasons. And it's like I said, I thought it was a great video because it's something we all walk around going, this is so great. And I don't know that any doctor has actually explained it or addressed it.
They've said that it's the case, but they haven't explained
Correct.
why it would be the case. I see
Correct.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other video I watched before that was really good too, but I cannot remember what the topic was for the life of me. So I'm excited to get him going regularly in my feed. It's going to be good.
So
Yeah.
I think we've covered pretty much. Oh, well, there's a couple of topics. I got my tractor.
Your tractor?
Yeah. Last time I mentioned I'd put the order in, and I got it.
You did.
And so I've been driving it, but there's snow everywhere, and the projects I need to do aren't really about snow, so I can't do a lot with it.
Did take care of the drifting on the driveway.
That's true. I
which
did
was
scrape
nice.
that off, so that was fun.
That was very nice.
I watched this wonderful but fairly technical video on Andrew Huberman's podcast, because his guest was Pavel Tsatsouline. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Who I knew from back in the day when I was really into kettlebell exercise.
I remember the name.
Because he was one of like the kettlebell gurus who was popularizing it in the States. And my teacher was directly trained by Pavel and his organization. And and there was a book that Pavel had written about kettlebell called Simple and Sinister. And it was a particular workout routine with one kettlebell that was simple and it was sinister. It was very difficult. I did it a lot. And unfortunately, I didn't eat any protein to speak of back then. So
you'd slam some whey shakes here and there, I think.
If I had, man, I can only imagine. But anyway, it was a wide-ranging conversation about building strength. Now, you'd have to want to sit through some of the details of hearing about the history of powerlifting and stuff, which even I wasn't that interesting. But they were talking about the importance of maintaining muscle mass as we age to stave off sarcopenia, because losing strength and having fat infusion into our muscles just is bad for our long-term prospects. Now, Pavel's not a big fan of just bodybuilding style exercise in order for hypertrophy, just for muscle growth. He's all about strength. And one of the things that I remember my kettlebell teacher talking about was just occasionally throughout the day, just go grab the kettlebell and do some swings, do whatever it is that you want to practice. And he called this is what Pavel calls a grease the groove. You practice it and you get that training. So you just really get clean with your form. And that's all I thought it was. But then in this podcast, he was talking about it and I understood it completely differently, because he was saying one thing you could do instead of doing a workout session or where you do exercise for 45 minutes is you could just do one submaximal effort, low rep set every so often throughout the day. And if you do that, you will make pretty good strength gains. Obviously, if you're detrained, like I currently am, I will have quicker gains. But I liked it because it was like, now maybe I don't have to go downstairs into the workout room to do a workout. Maybe instead I will come up with different workouts, different exercises around the house. And then every couple of hours, I'll just go through that little routine in 5 minutes. That will not only increase my strength, improve my form long-term, get me more volume of exercise without exhausting me. I'll have plenty of recovery between sets, but also the exercise itself is a mood and energy boost. Mm-hmm. And so I've used it when I've gotten a little tired or sleepy. I went in and I did my Bulgarian split squats with my foot on the sofa. I don't know what makes them Bulgarian. I don't know what the Bulgarians have against humanity that they invented this, because it's a brutal exercise. So anyway, I've been doing that, and I've really, really enjoyed that paradigm. Although I did yesterday do a really hard workout all at once. So,
well, one of the messages that came through loud and clear at COSI was the need for muscle resistance training, basically. Whatever that looks like, to really age well, which is not a new message, but again, it was kind of brought home quite a bit for me as well. So yeah, I was there at Vegas and I wish I could remember his name. I don't, but there was a trainer there who's also a PhD in physiology or something. I don't know. Ben Bo. And it's Bociccio or something. Bociccio. It's a lot of syllables. It's Italian. And it was really interesting because he was on a panel as well. And so I went home and bought his book, which sort of related me back to when I was in middle school. And my mom did, for the community edge, she ran the weight room, which was full of Nautilus equipment. So she had to get trained on how to teach people to use the Nautilus equipment. And I'd be there. So I was lifting at that time in middle school. And it turns out this Ben Bo is like knew the guy, and they together, I think, helped come up with that whole system. And so anyway, I've been doing, I was sick last week, so I've been doing Ben Bo's routine for exactly a week. And since you only do it twice a week, that means I've done it twice.
Yeah. Well, that's better than zero.
But yeah, so far I'm liking that, but it's getting the large muscle groups working on very traditional type of exercises. It can be done with resistance bands, and you move through it at a fairly high weight for you or resistance level, and very slowly. It's very slow and controlled movement. And you do it till failure, and you should fail within like 30 to 60 seconds. So you do a series of like 5 exercises, and it moves really pretty quickly. And again, he doesn't want a lot of repetitive motion, especially as we age. And he's like 76 years old or something. So, he was definitely on the trying to age without all that wear and tear.
Yeah.
Healthfully.
Yeah, he was a good speaker and panelist. And I know that Dave said he was doing that program too, but I didn't research what it was.
But honestly, I am sort of I've done this type of thing you're talking about, and I usually am pleased when I do that. I know it gets me more active because, I can get locked in on the computer and not move for hours. So I actually do need to make sure, especially during the cold months, that I get some activity. And as I'm getting closer to my mid-50s, to really maintaining my muscle mass as best I can.
When do the mid-50s start?
54.
You think 54?
I think so. I think mid-50s are 54, 55, 56. Although I don't think 57's late. but it's not mid. I don't know what. It's a little anomaly.
I think 55 is the mid 50s.
Yeah.
And 56,
You're past.
I don't know.
Are you in the late 50s at 56?
I don't think so. That doesn't feel right either.
No. Mm-hmm.
Let's check in with the chat.
Yes.
There's one.
There's
New
one.
Joe's
Yes.
K. I think triglycerides go up when you're losing weight. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah. And I mean, you have been steadily losing weight.
Yeah.
So if that is part of it, that certainly could be why your triglycerides.
Doesn't seem like it could account for the level
Yeah.
and the duration. So
The duration.
well,
Oh, not your whole history. I'm talking about how you were trending down
yeah,
and now you've been losing weight and your triglycerides have
yeah,
gone up.
that could definitely contribute.
So I'm just saying.
So
Yeah.
In a conversation this week, I had a doctor who's familiar with carnivore blood labs, and his reaction was, "I've seen this a couple of times.
What specific your trigger?
Extremely, extremely good insulin sensitivity and very high trigs.
Yeah.
It's a weird combo." And he was like, "Yeah, I've seen that." And, one of the things was you could add some carbs in to see if that works. It was a lot of like kind of just, thinking through like what might happen, but I don't want to do that.
Oh.
But I think there's other ways to, you're right. They were on the right track. So I just think getting dietary fat back under control might be the way I need to do it. So, that's it.
And there's the big question of in this insulin sensitive context, how much does it matter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just like our theme song says.
Just like our theme song says. Now, we were a little earlier today than we have been in recent weeks because I'm heading out to the theater. And that sounds awfully fancy, but when I say it that way, but it's a high school theater, going to see with my theater family, which is the other directors and their husbands. We're going to see Annie at one of the local high schools. So, and it's got some kids who are currently in our theater program and some alum who used to be. So we're going to support them and see the show.
Well, I'm going to eat dinner and it's going to be very late because when you said you were going to eat something, I said, I need something too. I thought you were going to make me dinner.
Oh,
and
I did not hear you say that at all.
You didn't, which is fine.
Yeah.
I can perfectly happy making myself.
But
a steak.
I also did not make a steak.
Yeah.
I made my salad because I'm not that hungry.
Yeah, that's fine. But that means I'm going to be eating late.
Yeah.
For me. I'll live. It's not a problem. But I am getting a little bit hungry. But it's almost March.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the weather forecast. We've got some warm up coming in Wisconsin. It's going to be in the 40s Fahrenheit. Very exciting. Hope it melts all the snow. I'm ready for spring.
He's always ready for spring, but it's funny because we just got snow recently. It's not like we've had a whole winter of snow. It's been like a week and a half of snow. But I know that's enough for you.
Yeah.
That's enough. And it is quite a bit, so it'll be nice.
Maybelline, I think the cat,
Yeah.
finished her steak and now she's just relaxing inside, getting warm. I can't close the door. She goes full feral. It's 20 degrees outside and all that cold is pouring in the house.
Do not fence her in.
No. It's been very cold here in upstate New York. I'm ready for spring, ready for the snow to go.
Yeah, we've had it easy compared to you.
Yeah, we've probably had a total, 8 or 9 inches all winter from last December till now.
All winter, and most of it has been in this last week. So
and I would like it if there was none.
Yeah.
I'd be perfectly content to have zero snow.
I would like 23rd of December.
Yeah.
We start to get snow. We have winter for 6 weeks so that by the end of January it's done.
That's what you'd like?
That would be my perfect winter. Yeah.
I guess
And I'm
I
not
could live with
talking
that.
like smacked with snow, just a little cold, little snow.
Yeah.
6 weeks, done.
So I think we should wrap up. We're going to play the theme song one more time on the
Ooh.
outro. So if you haven't heard it, it's pretty hilarious.
Here it comes.
So I'm going to say every day stronger.
Every day more blessed.
JJ and Eric, their LDL's high. Their doctors are worried, they're both gonna die. Probably won't matter, at least they hope so. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. Salad is toxic, seed oils are doom. They rub on tallow like greasy perfume. Ribeyes and eggs, that's all they know. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. No carbs, no kale, they're laughing at greens. 18-hour fasting is their favorite routine. Sugars for suckers, they're glowing with fat. Live streaming live from a tallow vat. Eric's got muscles, JJ's got zen. They're coming to chat with their carnivore friends. So toss out the